Eric Froelich. See if Dave is as successful as the last Naya Blitz deck we saw on camera.
Now, I believe Dave so far is either 2-1 or 3-0.
I think he's 2-1.
I think he has 2-1 from his tweet earlier. He said he was super happy playing this deck. He said it's super fun, it's super fast. He likes it a lot. You do see Javner Souls into Boris of Late to start things here. Brad has a turn 1 Rakdos Cackler he's going to unleash. And taking a look at Brad's deck very quickly here, pretty traditional deck. He has Stormcrook Noble, Cackler, Ash Zealot, Knight of Infamy, Boros Reckoner, Hell Rider, Falconwrath Aristocrat. Those are all 4-ofs to go along with 2 Lightning Maulers, 2 Fireheart Wolves, 3 Pillar of Flame, and 3 Searing Spears. So a pretty straightforward red-black aggro deck.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Dave has the nut Burning Tree Emissary Lightning Mauler draw. He does have Lightning Mauler, but he also has a Mayor of Avabrak. So looks like he's going to decide to go with the Lightning Mauler this turn, and then maybe sneak in the Mayor next turn, soul bonding it with the Lightning Mauler.
So you do see just a Lightning Mauler, no soul bond, which is, you know, if you're Brad, that's a little bit curious, maybe a little bit scared here of what things to come. But you do see a Knight of Infamy. Exalted's going to make this attack for 3. It's going to knock Dave down to 15, of course, with that Sacred Foundry coming to play untapped. And we'll see what Dave chooses to do this turn.
Dave drew an Experiment one, which is actually great right now because he can play that Searing Spear, the Knight, if he chooses, and attack with all 3 guys, dealing 6.
Okay.
Maybe that might change his Mayor play. Gives him a little more flexibility. And it looks like that's might what he, yeah. And had he not drawn that 1-drop, we might have just seen a Searing Spear attack, or maybe just a Mayor. But, yep, pretty good draw for Dave right here.
So you see Experiment 1 bonding with the Lightning Mauler. Boros Lee coming across as a 3-3 instead of a 1-1 because of Battalion. And these are the beatdowns that you talk about. It's turn 3 and he's attacking for 6.
Yeah, and, you know, having Experiment 1 play so good right now because basically any creature they play short of, sadly, the Mayor that's in his hand, would have pumped it. But wow, he has the. Fortunately, he soul bonded the Experiment 1, so he's not going to be able to cast the frontline medic, but and attack with it this turn. But I can see him attacking with everything right here.
You do see Dave is going to cast Frontline Medic. He's going to pump up the jam there, and he's going to get in with all of his guys. Now, you know, the Boros Elite's not going to die because of Battalion. It's going to be a 3-3, so, you know, the Knight of Infamy is going to get in front of that to prevent the 3 damage, but Brad is still going to end up taking 4 points of damage. Dave's going to play a Sacred Foundry post-combat and say go. Last card in his hand is that Mayor of Avabrak, which is going to bolster all the guys, and you're going to see a huge attack from him in the next turn.
Yeah, Brad has a Hell Rider, so interesting to see what his line of play is here. I don't think he has a lot of removal in his hand. So it looks like Dave, as long as, if Brad just plays Hell Rider, it's great for Dave.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see what Brad does here because I can't tell what the last card is. It looks like it might be...
that card is saying you see a Hell Rider, you see a couple of lands, you see a Searing Spear.
So it is a Searing Spear, okay. So... yeah, it looks like he's going to Searing Spear maybe the Frontline Medic here.
So you see him come across for 3 more with the Cackler. Obviously,
interesting that he doesn't do it main phase, considering that, you know, he knows Naya Blitz plays Giant Growth, Boros Charm, cards like that, maybe even Selesnya Charm, so maybe you want to just kill that guy right now, but we'll see. Might help out the fact that he has a Mayor. Maybe he wants to kill the Mayor, but there's still so many creatures in the play. Even the Searing Spear I don't think is enough.
So you do see Champion of the Parish into an off-screen Mayor of Avabrak. It looks like Dave's going to slide those things across for you guys so that you can see the Mayor at the very end there. And you know he's going to pull forward the guys that can attack. The guys in the back do have summoning sickness right now. And now Brad has to decide, what am I going to pull the trigger on with this Searing Spear, as there are a lot of good targets in play right now between Frontline Medic, Mayor of Avabrak, or even something as simple as Experiment 1. He needs to choose wisely here and then consider the ramifications of his decision and the best use that he can find for that Hell Rider in the next turn. Because, you know, he needs to use that Hell Rider to win the game. I don't know if the window is ever going to be open to actually do that.
Yeah, well, Dave's at 9, so it's possible that he's at 9. Can he possibly survive an attack? No. So he's pretty much going to have to Searing Spear something here.
And you are going to see Searing Spear, and it's going to take out Experiment 1.
Interesting, because now he could soul bond. If it was in response to the Mayor getting cast, Dave can choose to soul bond the Mayor with the Lightning Mauler now. Or maybe it was in the declaration of an attack. Okay. So Dave thinking about what he wants to do here. I don't see why he wouldn't attack with everything still.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit surprised here if he doesn't just send with everybody, and that's what he's going to do. You're going to see 2 Battalion Triggers go on the stack, 1 for Indestructibility from Frontline Medic, 1 for +2/+2 to Boros Elite. So this is going to get 5 damage across here. It's going to put
more
Brad...
than that because the Mayor's still 7.
Okay, yeah, it's actually going to get 7 damage across, so it's going to put Brad down to 2. You see Dave move forward the guys that can actually do the blocking here, and Brad draws an Ash Zealot.
Not quite enough in this situation. Dave just has too many creatures in play. He can play a Hell Rider, attack with everything, drop Dave to 6. Dave can then block 2 creatures to make sure he doesn't die. And so yeah, nothing Brad can do there. Brad really, you can't try to outrace Naya Blitz with creatures. You really need to draw removal to slow him down.
Yeah.
He only drew 1 Searing Spear that game. That's not going to cut it. So going to game 2, what do we have Dave bringing in here? He's got Fiend Hunters, Pacifisms, Thalias, Neheart Pilgrims, Boros Charm, and Gruul Charm. So I could definitely see Fiend Hunter and Pacifisms coming in. Probably doesn't need the Gore Clan Rampager or Giant Growth so much in this matchup. Maybe he doesn't want to risk. Maybe he wants the Pilgrims to gain a little life. Mayor's probably not that amazing after board if you expect your opponent to bring in more removal. But definitely can see Pacifism coming in. Yeah, my guess is Rampage or Giant Growth coming out for some combination of Pacifism and Pilgrims.
I'm taking a look at Bradley's sideboard here. More removal is something that he does have in his sideboard. 3 copies of Dreadboard here to go along with a Singleton Pillar of Flame. He also does have a Sever the Bloodline in the sideboard, but I feel that's probably a little bit too slow in this particular matchup. Yes, there is a chance he could catch 2 creatures with that, but I feel that it is rather unlikely that that will occur. Other than that, he has 2 copies of Skullcrack, 3 copies of Reckless Wave, 2 copies of Rakdos Charm, and 3 copies of Volcanic Strength. Volcanic Strength, in a matchup where you are racing and Brad is going to be on the play this game, it is something I could see coming in here because, again, Dave's deck does have 4 copies of Sacred Foundry and 4 copies of Stomping Ground. So it could, kind of steal a win when he's on the play.
The only concern Brad has to have is Dave bringing in cards like Pacifism, Fiend Hunter, or Bonds of Strength. He doesn't really know. He knows that those cards do exist as sideboard options for Naya Blitz. Do I really want to bring in Pants?
Yep.
Cards like Volcanic Strength out of my sideboard if my opponent's bringing in cards like Fiend Hunter and Pacifism. So I think Dave's definitely going to bring in the Pacifism and the Fiend Hunters just because I think in this matchup the card he's most afraid of is Boros Reckoner.
Sure.
So he just wants as many ways to answer that.
And Bradley, of course, does have 4 copies of that. Now, you didn't see them game 1, and Dave didn't see them game 1 either. So, while he's probably 95% sure that they are there, again, not seeing them can make him maybe think that, well, maybe he doesn't have them in his deck. Not entirely sure. But I think overall you are going to see a card like Pacifism come in here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see those Neheart Pilgrims as well because from what we've seen in that last game and probably the next game moving forward, it is just going to be a flat race because I don't think either deck blocks particularly well here. Of the 2 decks, Dave's deck definitely does block better than Brad's does.
Yeah, Dave might just say, forget it. I don't need the Mayor, Giant Growth, or Gore Clan Rampager in this matchup, and I'm just going to bring in Pacifism, Fiend Hunter, and Pilgrims.
Sure. Either way, it's going to be a relatively quick one here. Both these decks are hyper-aggressive strategies. And, what we saw in the past, before Gatecrash kind of came to the party, is you saw black-based aggressive decks with a splash of red, or on the flip side, red-based aggressive strategy with a splash of black. But, the thing that kind of held either of those decks together was Falkenrath Aristocrat, being one of the more aggressive cards in the format. Nowadays, because Champion of the Parish has gotten so much better because of Burning Tree Emissary, because of Boros Elite, Experiment 1 cards like that, you see your hyper-aggressive decks no longer be black-based and be Falkenrath Aristocrat-centric. Now what you see are decks that are based around, 1-drops Burning Tree Emissary and just giving the beatdowns as fast as you can and making those 1/1s into 3/3s. So the question you have to ask yourself is which one of these is the better hyper-aggressive strategy moving forward, and it feels like to me personally that the Naya Blitz deck is just better at what these decks are trying to accomplish, which is to take the opponent from 20 to 0 by like turn 4 or 5.
Yeah, I just, if you want to be aggressive, I can't see not wanting to play Experiment 1 and Champion and Perish. Like I said before, those are the two of the best aggressive creatures you can have. Why not play them? I don't see why you'd want to play cards like Stormcrook Noble and Rakdos Cackler when you have just easy trumps, and they allow you to get these ridiculous draws that there are just very few ways that you can deal with. So I think going forward, Naya Blitz is going to grow in popularity, or maybe different variations of it. Yeah, the red deck is just trying to keep up by playing more removal spells, but every creature in Dave's deck is pretty good, and cards like Giant Growth can suddenly put a hamper on anything you were thinking about doing.
And we are going to see Burning Tree Emissary here into Mare of Averbrook. Dave's going to pass the turn back. Opening turn to that game, of course, Brad without a 1-drop, so he did lead with just a Blood Crypt. Pillar of Flame took care of Dave's Experiment 1. Dave, of course, at 18, because Stomping Ground come into play untapped. You're going to see Pillar of Flame take care of the Mare of Averbrook here, and Brad going to pass the turn back. Also, you do see one copy of Volcanic Strength in Brad's hand right now.
Yeah, and again, like, another reason why you don't want to play red-black aggro is you don't get access to Champion, Burning Tree Emissary, you know? It's like, that card's amazing. Why wouldn't you want to play it?
So we'll see Giant Growth one-up that Searing Spear.
And, we were just talking about it. A simple Giant Growth can, like, trump some of the burn spells. So I wonder what Dave actually took out for the passive of Fiend Hunter, or did he even bring him in?
The question is, did he even bring him in? As you see him attack for 3 here. Brad, stuck on 3 lands, has 2 copies of Hellrider, a Falcon Aristocrat, and a Volcanic Strength in his hand, so he actually has no castable cards. Did you see a Boros Elite and Dave passing the turn back, again representing Giant Growth? We're going to see a Knight of Infamy here from Brad, and all he can do again is just pass the turn back. And as good as Knight of Infamy is, it can't beat those Boros Elites in a fight.
And he also has a Searing Spear in his hand, so, he's doing 8 now.
Yep.
Like, there's only so many things, and I think he has another Giant Growth in his hand.
Yes,
so,
he does.
Yeah, he's in pretty good shape to win this game. There's Brad's deck, he drew the removal spells to try to hold early, but if you draw removal spells and you have no pressure on your opponent, he's going to draw out of it, you know?
And that's exactly what David's done here. His first couple of guys did die, but the thing for Brad is that he actually has to kill basically all of them.
Yeah, you saw it. Experiment 1, Champion to Perish, Boros Elite, they all threaten to be a lot bigger, and just, you need some way to deal with everything, and you just don't have it, Like, mass removal is the only way that you can effectively beat these types of decks. Yeah. And you need some sort of combination of early removal to slow them down, and then mass removal to sweep everything up. When you're Brad's deck, all you're trying to do is 1-for-1 them, but you have no way to replenish your hand or put pressure on them while